Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for calling into our local emergency planning committee meeting for March 2026. So this meeting will be focused on wildland fire preparedness. I know that's on everybody's mind as we're going into the wildland fire season going here. My name is Lance Fresquez. I'm an emergency management coordinator here with Los Alamos County. I'm joined with Cody Ulrich in our office as well. He's our deputy emergency manager. And then Van, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself. We've got our Wildland Fire Division Chief, Van Limer, on the line as well.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to speaking with you all on some of the information that we have for home assessments and defensible space around your home, getting ready for the wildland season. It's already warming up, so hope everybody is enjoying the warm weather for now. And as we go into the future, we'll look at what's going to happen with fire restrictions and weather and that kind of thing. So thanks for the allowing me to introduce myself.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you calling in, and we're looking forward to hearing about what we're expecting for this season. All right, so some of the topics that we're going to be discussing today is just understanding the risk that we have this year going into wildland fire season. So Chief is going to be presenting on the wildland fire protection plan, the seasonal outlook, kind of what we're expecting, some of the ready, set, go procedures and processes, just a refresher on that terminology and what those mean as a community member. Going over dispensable space, what we can do to prepare our homes and our properties to give ourselves the best chance of success for wildland fire season. Emergency exercises that we've done up to this point. So from the county, from the LANL perspective as well, we've done a lot of preparedness activities to get ready for this wildland fire season and enhance coordination with each other. We'll talk about our new emergency alerting system, Everbridge, and what it looks like to sign up for that and making sure everybody's signed up for that prior to fire season. And our family communication plan, just making sure that your families are personally prepared and ready for fire season as well. And we'll hold questions for the end, but we will also give you the opportunity if there's something that you think of during the presentation that's really pressing, go ahead and raise your hand in the chat. We'll try to get to you. If not, we'll try to get to your question at the very end of this presentation as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Limer to begin talking about kind of the risk and some of our historic fires that we've had here in Los Alamos County.
So if everybody's been here since 2000, you've experienced 3 large fires that have directly impacted Los Alamos. And going into the Ready, Set, Go program, we've all experienced that. I know if we're here for the Cerro Grande, there wasn't a lot of organization during that fire, and it was a little corrupted on executing the evacuation plan. When we got into the Los Conchas fire, there's a little more understanding about the Ready, Set, Go, and as far as the Cerro Pilado fire, that ended up being one of the fires that we got to set and everybody was ready and prepared to evacuate, and luckily we didn't have to, and we got that fire stopped prior to getting here. Cerro Grande fire caused a lot of damage in the western area. We know it burned down a lot of houses, and that's one of the things that we always try to prevent and hope that doesn't happen again. We continue to do work to prevent that with mitigation and things like that. During the Los Conchas fire, we had a few Type 1 incident management teams come through because it was an extended fire that lasted quite some time. I was here for the Los Conchas fire and getting to see how the community worked together, and emergency management along with the fire department, public utilities, and all of Los Alamos County organizations that are within the county spectrum. You worked well together to be able to get some adequate work done, so we prevented the Los Conchas fire from directly entering the city. The Thompson Ridge fire was something that just provided a lot of smoke over the top of us. That was in 2013. It seems like every 10 to 11 years, we are going to continue to have these fires, and we're at the cusp of a hard season that's going to be difficult to deal with. We know there was no snow, limited rain. There's not much in the next forecast into probably April, I would say. We're going to heat up over the next 7 days into the 90s. Down in Santa Fe and up here, it's going to be probably 70s, 80s, and 90s. With the temperatures not going down, too much in the evening, it's going to be pleasant for most people. Let's hope that we don't have anything to worry about. The Cerro Pilado fire directly impacted Los Alamos with a lot of smoke, and worried folks concerned about what the fire was going to do and if it was going to come back into Los Alamos County, which, luckily we got a good starting pace on that. We were one of the first engines on scene. I was actually on duty that day and was one of the first engines over on the way to the Cerro Pilado fire. We got to La Cueva and started doing some work over there. Luckily, we caught a spot fire in the Valles Caldera on the way over there. As far as the CWPP, we continue to do mitigation. That was something that started a long time ago. The first CWPP was in 2016, and we update that every 5 to 6 years. Our last update was in 2022. We continue to do mitigation around the town. You've seen us work. If you look at Canyon Rim Trail, that's one of the areas we mitigated, and kind of one of the reasons we did that was because it's an evacuation route. We were kind of concerned if the smoke came up over the road and got into the sage that was right along the road. We were worried about that obstructing the evacuation. We're currently looking at other places that we can use it to our advantage to mitigate around the community. We'll start that work here pretty soon. We're allotting places. I work with Eric Peterson, he's the open spaces guy, and we kind of went out and hiked a lot of areas so we could decide what were the best advantage to us and to the community to prevent, fires from coming into homes. And I'm sure the insurance question will come up later, and we'll talk about that and kind of what the county's plan is for that. Next slide. So again, the CWPP was updated in 2022. We continualize. We use a lot of tools, and luckily we have a laboratory right next to us that uses fire modeling. So we utilize the LANL to be able to look at some of the fire modeling that goes around the community. We look at VeriRisk maps, which is one of the things provided by the insurance company. Los Alamos is in a high-risk, extreme fire hazard area. And as you all know, if we looked in the area, we've had multiple fires. You see the burn scars, so you know that this is a prone area. And having, one of the biggest things is we have a history over the last, 23 years of having a fire about every 11 years. We continue to look at the weather and look at the hazards around the area. We look at the fuels on the ground as well as fuels in the trees and up into the canopies. So we want to make sure we look at all that. The fire shed, one of the things that the laboratory does is they continue to have the RAWS system, which is kind of how they measure the fuel moisture in the fuels around the area. And they're a very low percentage right now. So we take that into consideration when we consider fire risk. Next slide. So if you go back one. The seasonal outlook, as far as June goes, they say that we're going to have a moderate to good monsoon season, but up to that point, we're looking at being above average for the wildfire potential in this area. Not only us, up into southern Colorado. We definitely look at the areas. I don't understand why there's a white spot in the middle of all the red, but hopefully that's accurate because that kind of puts it in the Jemez Mountains, and hopefully we get some rains in between there. But, we always look at the Jemez Mountains as pushing, fire over into Los Alamos. And if we can do significant work to try to get the mitigation done around the city. And, it's up to homeowners too, to do the mitigation around their homes. And we could talk about that over the Ready, Set, Go program next. But we continue to look at weather and that kind of thing. So one of the things we always say in Los Alamos is we're always ready. We always have to be ready because that danger potential is there. This year, it is very high. You can tell by the weather, the lack of moisture, the increasing temperature so early in the season. We want you to be ready. So we want to create that defensible space around your homes. So the 0 to 5 feet around your home, there should be no materials. You should, one of the recommendations that I always do is take a blower and go around your house and blow away all the pine needles. Make sure you pile those up. Anywhere from the area from 5 to 30 feet around your home. You got to make sure those ladder fuels are trimmed up. If you have any grass out there, continue to water it and try to get it greened up. That'll help with fire defensible space. Fire resistant building materials. we adopted the Wildland Urban Interface Code 2021 edition last year. It was chapter 4 or chapter 5 and chapter 6, which has to do with building construction and defensible space around your home. As far as the emergency kit with essentials, we always want you to be prepared. So we always recommend that you get a plastic box. You take all your papers, your important paperwork, any photographs that you're going to take. Make sure you take some identification, passports if you have those, credit cards, and all the things that you need to put into a box and that you want to save from your home. On a day that you're not doing anything, just take all that stuff and put it in that box and make sure it fits. One of the things you don't want to do is just throw things into boxes and try to get out when you're going to set. You don't want to just throw anything in there and pile the box over what the lid's going to hold, because you may have more than one box. You want to make sure you can stack them in the car to be able to take with you. So on a day that you're not doing anything, go pile all that stuff in the box, make sure it fits in there. And once you do that, get on your computer and make a list of what's in a particular box. And once you know that list, then you can put those particular things in there. The other thing you want to think about as an emergency kit is your personal bag. You want to take some clothes. You want to take your prescriptions, any medications that you have to take. Put those in that bag because you may be away for a while. I always recommend that you grab a cooler, have some waters in there, and maybe some snack bars, because if we have to evacuate and there's any obstruction to that, that may be a problem that we have too. Evacuation routes in Los Alamos, or if it's coming from the west or southwest towards Los Alamos, we're always going to evacuate down Main Hill truck route. If we need to, we'll open Rendia Canyon. That's kind of a last resort. Need to get people out from the mesas. As far as set, once you get everything ready, when you go into the set mode, you want to make sure that your curtains are open. Any furniture that you have right next to the window, pull that in just a little bit, because if that fire comes next to your house, you don't want that convective heat to go through the window and maybe light some things on fire from that heat. Go around your house. If you have time, turn on your water around the house, set up your sprinklers, get everything packed in your car, get your to-go boxes ready. Make sure you monitor the local news, alerts, weather conditions. You can follow the Everbridge will send out announcements. Any apps and services that you have. I actually use, let me look real quick, I apologize. Watchduty.com is a great place to look at fires that not only are happening in New Mexico, but you can see all the Western American, and actually covers the entire United States now, where you can see any fire. If you have children somewhere else and you're kind of concerned about them, you can click on the little fire emblem and it'll tell you the acreage of the fire and what that fire is doing. When you're ready to evacuate, if you're in set mode and you feel like you're prepared and you're ready to go and you don't want to run into the rush of traffic and you feel like it's time to go, we want you to be prepared to go. Just go ahead and shut off your water before you leave, if you would, because as firefighters, we're going to need that water at some point. So we don't want to not have any water or have everybody leave their water on, and then when we open a hydrant, then we're going to have issues getting water. So we want you to shut off that water before you leave. Go around your house and make sure everything's off your deck. Anything that's flammable, if you have any cushions in your chairs or anything like that, put that inside your home. If you have a grill on your deck, make sure you take the propane tank and move it way out into the yard away from your house, because you don't want that in your garage or anything else. Share your evacuation plan with your family members and make sure that you have communication with your kids. Have a meeting place put together. So if you call them and say, we're going to go to Buffalo Thunder and we're going to meet in the parking lot, be prepared to do that. And that way, if they're not with you, they can just start down the hill. You can get all their boxes and their things together. If they have a go bag, which your children should pack a go bag as well, they're going to want to take their own things. Put a note on your door. Leave your curtains open so we can see inside. As firefighters, if we have to go through and triage a community really fast, if you'll take a note and put it on your door and say, we have evacuated, leave your phone numbers, where you've gone. And that way, if we have any issues with your home, you want to make sure you lock your doors when you leave. Make sure you leave that note on your door, so if I send a new firefighter or any firefighter up to your door, we don't have to worry about looking inside the home to see if you're there. We can just, if you missed something around your home as we go by and triage, then we can go through, do that real quick and move on to the next home, and it helps us move through a lot faster. Again, if you want to evacuate, please evacuate early. We don't want you to be up here and be beyond scared, worry about where you're going to go or what you're going to do. Get those plans in place ahead of time. Follow evacuation routes and make sure that you follow anything that PD says to you. If you're going through and they direct you down truck route, but you thought you were going to go down main hill, maybe there's a reason that you're not going. Maybe the main hill's already backed up and they need to get you through truck route to get you down to the roundabout so you can exit safely down through Tutavi. Take your emergency kits and all your valuables. Always prioritize your safety. One of the things that we want to talk about too is we want you to evacuate, but if you get into a position where you can't evacuate, look around at some of the parking lots around town and make sure that you can get into one of those parking lots in open space areas where there's not a lot of trees around, there's not a lot of stuff to burn. And we want to make sure that you have a place that you can go and feel safe, and you're going to be safe, and the smoke may come through and an ember shower may come through, but you're away from any burning things, any burning trees or any burning buildings, and you're going to be safe in that area. Safer, at least. Next slide.
So Chief, just one question real quick.
Sure.
What would be your recommendation as far as like when we just go into the go phase? Sometimes we just skip the ready and the set phase because the fire is just an imminent threat. Is that something you can kind of talk through with the community members here? Is that there are situations that we're eventually going to just go straight into go depending on the fire location.
Sure. One of the biggest things we want you to do is be in that ready state already. Have your go bags ready to go, so that way if there is a go, you can be able to do that. Now, coming into this fire season, something you might think about is if you have to go into that go state, go ahead and put those things in your car and be prepared. So if you have a fire or an imminent danger that comes immediately, within 20 minutes of all of a sudden we're going into that go phase, you have the box of valuables in your car, you have your to-go bag in the car, and you're ready to get off the hill. That way you're not going back to your house to look for it. That's another thing with communication with your family is if we do go into that go phase, you can call your kids and say, just get off the hill. That's all we're concerned about is your life safety. So just get off the hill. We have some stuff in the car. We have the valuables in the car. We have everything that we were going to take in our to-go bag, and we're on our way down. Again, I think we already talked about some of the defensible space. The 0 to 5 feet, no fuels. The 5 to 30 feet. We want 10 feet tree spacing. We want to trim up those trees so there's no limbs below 6 feet. Perfect. I didn't know you had this slide. Didn't remember this slide. So around your home, we already talked about the cushions and the grill, kind of around your home. And then, once you get to that area, if you have a propane tank around your house, you want to make sure that all the fuels are cleared out around it as well. You want to maintain your defensible spawn by thinning vegetation and ladder fuels. Space your trees 10 feet apart at the canopy, not at the base. Any bushes that are underneath your tree that could push fire or flame up into the canopy of your tree, you want to make sure that you take that out. Any dead and dry vegetation and leaves, like I say, the best way to move that stuff is to take a blower and blow it all together. Try to get it into a pile the best you can and sack it up and send it to the recycling plant. Of course, the extended zone, that's kind of where, a lot of your homes are going to be within probably 50 to 70 feet of county property. So that's one of the things we're trying to do as a county is be proactive and get some of those areas cleared up where, that's going to provide a bigger buffer to your home. If you have a bigger space and you have 100 feet around your house, make sure that you remove that excess or dead or dry vegetation. Make sure you cut off the ladder fuels. Keep your grass below 6 inches from the 5 feet all the way out to the probably 50 to 75 feet. Cut your grass pretty short and maintain that distance between trees to prevent fire from jumping from one another and creating a canopy fire that goes over your house and into your home. Next slide. Again, we do Wildland Home Assessment program. It's free of charge to home and business owners. I just did a church yesterday. Before that, I do usually 1 or 2 or 3 home assessments a day. Sometimes it's 6 to 10 a week. Sometimes I don't have any. We're more than happy to do that. We have it set up on the Wildland Division on the county website. Just type in Wildland Division when you go to the search bar. And if you look for the LAFD home assessment, it's in blue. When you look at that, just click on that and it'll take you to a booking site where you can book it. There's only certain hours and it rotates every 14 days. So that way you can get yourself in there and take a look at that. There's multiple, go ahead, we'll go this way. So then you just go in and fill out all this information. It gives you a date and you can kind of see the days that are available. It'll give you a time slot and continue to the bottom. So make sure that you put your details in there of all your information so I can contact you. If it runs into a day where I may have a meeting or something that pops up for me, I can let you know and I'll send you an email that says this is a reason I can't do it. Can you please rebook at the next available?
Thanks, Chief. And then we'll also send out the presentation at the end of this, and we'll have it posted on our website as well. That way folks can have the link as well.
And if you can go back to the slide. If you visit the Wildland Division website, there's a lot of information in there, and a lot of it has to, comes from CAL FIRE, the Ready Set programs on there. If you want to see what fire mitigation maps we have in there that we've worked on, that we're currently working on, if you look in there and you can see where we're working right now, the Ready Set Go programs on there. So you can go through and it has the map that we just showed you of Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. Give you a little bit more information about that. And then just CAL FIRE has a lot to do with this because they were kind of one of the first places that started with having the wildland urban interface problem. And as we've gone through the years, more homes and more homes are being built into the wildland urban interface. So it becomes an increasingly problematic issue for fire departments, as well as anything that happens during a fire. We want to make sure that you have that defensible space set up around your home so you can protect yourselves and protect your homes. And it's a community effort. I know, one of the things that I always tell people is if you drive through the community, just look around, look at your own property and see what you can do. And you'll see, but we're kind of behind the ball. But we want to catch up and do the best we can to get into a place where we feel safe in our own community. Next slide. Is this you or me, Lance?
I'll take this one, Chief. All right, I'm gonna just put you on mute real quick there, Chief.
Sure.
All right, so a lot of the steps that we've taken here in emergency management for forest fire season is just to practice with our local jurisdictions and our local agencies on just coordination. And if we do have one of these type of events, how are we all going to be communicating with each other and what does that look like? So what we've done in emergency management in partner with the fire department, the police department, the Forest Service, with the Lano Wildland Fire Program, with the Lano Emergency Management Division, and some of our surrounding pueblos and tribes, is we conducted a wildland fire tabletop exercise. And we used a scenario behind Bronca Mesa School that impacted Bronca Mesa and some of these houses here. We started the fire there as a simulation. And it really gave us an opportunity to coordinate with the public schools on, what an evacuation would look like for the school district, what it would look like to have the Forest Service coming in, entering unified command with us. So it was a great opportunity for us to practice that collaboration and coordination. So we wanted to let you all know as community members that we are taking steps to practice with our local agencies and our local jurisdictions, because as Chief Limer mentioned, it's a whole community effort. It's a multi-agency effort when we have these wildland fires escalate. It takes a lot of coordination, so practicing that ahead of time instead of during an actual fire season is what we try to do. That way we can update plans, procedures, and that sort of thing, and communication protocols to make sure that we're prepared to handle these type of emergencies. In addition, the Los Alamos National Laboratory, they conducted a full-scale exercise, and that was also a wildland fire scenario. And so we were able to participate as a county organization in that as well. And so that gave us additional practice going into the wildland fire season with the complexity of maybe potentially a hazmat component associated and tied with that incident. So we've had two big exercises prior to this fire season, and that's definitely helped us. And then the Lano Wildland Fire Program, and then as Chief Limer stated, Los Alamos County have completed several wildland fire mitigation projects around the area. Lano primarily focuses on the truck route and State Road 4 and doing a lot of those mitigation treatments in some of the interior properties within Lano, including some of this DOE property in Rendia Canyon. They've done a lot of mitigation work in there. And then, as Chief Limer stated, there's been a lot of work off a Canyon Rim Trail. And then there's also been a lot of work behind Chamisa School and that little trail back there to thin out some of the vegetation and make it a healthier fuel density load behind those areas. And then, Chief, if I'm missing anything, I'll let you go ahead and speak to that real quick. If there's any other mitigation projects you'd want to highlight right now.
One of the other things that we've done too is I know they've done a lot of work through Bandelier and up into the Valles Caldera. They burned a lot of piles early in this winter that were out on the Valles Caldera, so they've been doing a lot of work out there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And the goal of this, right, is to get those when these fire starts do happen, is to get those low intensity fire starts, right, and try to avoid those situations where you're getting those crown fires, those high intensity fires.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things about ladder fuels is if we have a canopy fire that goes up into the trees, it's difficult for us to get up into those areas and be able to fight that fire effectively. So once you get ladder fuels out of there and we can keep the fire on the ground, we're a lot more effective when we can fight the fire on the ground and not in ladder fuels and trees, because we know inevitably the wind comes with the fire. Fire produces its own wind and its own weather a lot of times, and that can push the fire pretty hard and pretty fast. And if it's throwing out 8-foot flame lengths from ladder fuels and then up into the tree canopies, those flame lengths can go up to 1,000 feet. So if we can keep it on the ground and at a manageable level, that definitely benefits the fire department of being able to protect the community a lot better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, so just, the defensible space work that you all do throughout the community around your properties, that gives the firefighters the best opportunity and chance to protect your structure during a wildland fire incident as well. One thing we really wanted to highlight as part of this presentation here today is the Los Alamos County has switched our emergency alerting system for a variety of different reasons. We have now switched to Everbridge, and this is the same emergency alert system that you're accustomed to with the Los Alamos National Laboratory. It's the same system. However, the Los Alamos County alerts, they are going to come from a different number, and that's going to be 88911. You don't need to memorize that or anything like that. When the alerts come out from Los Alamos County, it's going to specify in the subject heading and in the message itself that this is a Los Alamos County emergency alert, just like LANL has that on theirs. It says LANL alert whenever they send something out. So it's important to know that distinction, that you all will be getting different alerts from these different systems. We did pull all the data from the previous emergency alert system code red, and we've pulled that over into the Everbridge system. However, we still want you to register yourself. That way you have access to your Everbridge application and your profile. And if you have any updates to your account or any updates to your phone numbers, we want you to go in and register to the new Everbridge system. This is going to be the primary method of which Los Alamos County will notify you of an emergency alert. That includes when we get that decision point from the fire department, when we go into those different phases of ready, set, go, we will communicate it using our emergency alert system, which is now Everbridge. So it's extremely important to sign up for that. We're really pushing a campaign to get community members signed up for this new system as we go into wildland fire season. It will send the alerts to the registered devices. This is an opt-in system. So once you opt in and once you put up your updated contact information, this will be the way that we notify you. If for whatever reason you wanted to opt out, you always do have that opportunity, but we highly encourage you to stay opted in to receive our alerts throughout the community. This is also The way to sign up, we've got a link here. So when we send out the presentation, this will be the link to sign up for Everbridge. However, if you're watching it right now, and you want to sign up right now, the easiest thing to do is to text Los Alamos, all one word, to 888-777. And that'll take you to the registration page for Everbridge. And it's a pretty intuitive process as far as just putting your information in and opting into the system. You can also, I'll leave this up. If you have a camera on your phone, you can scan this QR code here. I'll give a few minutes or a few seconds here to sign up for that. But again, highly recommend that you sign up for this. This is going to be the primary means in which we communicate with you. Some of our other redundant measures include our 1610 emergency radio broadcast station. So for whatever reason, like if we have like a network outage and internet and cell go out again and we aren't able to utilize our emergency alert system or Everbridge, things like that, well, we do have 1610 as a redundant form of communication, so we've updated and upgraded all of the software surrounding 1610 so we can remotely log in and update the alerts that way as well. So if there's a big incident or there's a big fire, things like that, we highly recommend turning your radio station to 1610 AM to tune into alerts that way as well. It's just another redundant form of communication that we have when emergencies kick off. What you can do right now, so as Chief Limer alluded to earlier in the presentation here, right, is we all got to take some personal preparedness measures ahead of fire season. Right now we're all technically we're always in that ready state. And so one of the best things you can do is create yourself a family emergency plan. And it starts with creating a family communication plan. And that's honestly getting a piece of paper, or there's some templates on ready.gov that you can get as well to fill out information. But it's putting down important contact information. So, if cells are down, or if you don't have access to your cell phone or your phone, you have this information written down on a actual plan that your family can access during an emergency. We always recommend designating an out of area contact. A lot of times what we saw in Las Conchas fire and the Cerro Grande fire is like phone lines can get jammed up relatively quickly during an emergency. And it actually does help to have an out of area contact or even an out of state contact that you can relay messages through as well, to reduce some of the local phone lines and local traffic that's happening there. Also, plan for communication. Decide how to communicate if phone lines or cell service is down. So we've seen that, right, through some of these outages here, having some redundant measures. Maybe it's a satellite-based internet service that you have. Things like that can help. There's also Bluetooth texting, things like that you can practice with your family. So highly encourage you to look at those things in your personal life as far as how you're going to communicate if phone lines go down, if internet goes down. What are some of your redundancies that you have personally within your own family? Establishing those meeting locations. So if some of these things do occur and you're separated from your family, it's good to have some pre-designated spots that you can meet up in. Again, you want to listen to the local officials and the local authorities as far as evacuation routes and just getting you out of the area. But once you're out of the area, what's your plan there? Are you going to meet somewhere, maybe at a family's house that's out of the county? Things like that. Practice those type of things and discuss those type of plans with your family ahead of time. Preparing an emergency kit. So Chief alluded to this as well, but the essentials is really packing food, water. So you want 1 gallon of water per person for 3 days. So really that's kind of the benchmark, is a 3-day supply of these items. A first aid kit, any medications that you have, right now, ahead of fire season, if you have medications that are critical to you, contact your local pharmacy to have a backup supply or another supply of medication if we do have, an emergency and we have to evacuate and you don't have access to your pharmacy or anything like that. You have that medication available to you. Having flashlights, extra batteries, important documents, and personal items. So, having copies of your insurance policies, having copies of any of your personal documents and important documents in a bin that's ready to go and ready to be taken at a moment's notice. And including it, if you have pets, or any other special kind of populations, make sure that you're preparing them as well. We want to make sure that you have a personal plan for them, especially, if you have some of the larger animals, maybe at the horse stables, things like that. Do you have a plan with any surrounding stables or any other jurisdictions that you could potentially take your large animals to as well? And then lastly, practice the plan. Once you've developed it, once you've, discussed it with your family, actually go through the plan, pretend that, a fire is imminent and we're about to go into the go phase. And what does that look like for your family and where are you going to grab your materials and what's in your bin and what is going to be essential for you. With that, we're going to go ahead and turn it over for questions, leave the last part of this presentation. We wanted it to just be available. If anybody had any questions regarding this fire season, the conditions that we have.
Hey,
I see.
there's a question online real quick I'd like to address.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Chief.
There was a question about, the problem with leaving your blinds open or your curtains open. I understand that is an important thing, and it's only a recommendation. One of the reasons that we ask you to do that is for firefighter safety. So we're not trying to worry about whether there's people in the home. It helps us move faster, and it's for firefighter safety, and so we can make a rapid decision while we're going through an active wildfire and doing triage to homes. We only want you to do that when evacuation is imminent and it's already ordered and you're trying to get out of the house. It's for our safety if a fire's coming in. I understand that there's the concern with looting and things like that, but there are security patrols, and the PD will be up here making those patrols around neighborhoods. The note should be simple, and don't include a lot of personal information. Just put on there that we've evacuated and your name and your cell phone number and that everybody's out of the house. You don't have to leave a lot of information in that. Make sure you understand that option is also it's optional. Like it's not an enforcement. We're just asking you to do that. So it helps us move faster and maybe protect more homes quicker and easier and protects our firefighters that are working on that fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for answering that question. I do see Cynthia with her hand raised. So Cynthia, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question there.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted.
Hi.
Hi. I realize that you're a civil agency, but I was wondering how aware you are of the vulnerable legacy waste at, Area G at Lannel, because it's intense on a mesa and it's less than a mile from new homes that are being built. And when I spoke with the National Defense Facilities Safety Board of DOE, they made the point that, those tents are not meant to be fireproof, which of course they aren't. And we know that even defensible space is kind of dangerous because fires can leap. So I just wondered if you're aware of that and if that's something, just if you could talk about it.
Yeah, excellent point, Cynthia, and thank you so much for bringing that up. So, we are aware of it in the county. So we work closely with the Los Alamos National Laboratory on drills and exercises and their hazards. They are actually required to report some of the hazardous material that they do have on site there. What I can say is they have a team and a group at Lannel that analyzes if there is an emergency, right? If there's a fire or something like that impacts some of these hazardous materials, they have what's called emergency action levels, and it's predetermined protective actions and protective action zones to mitigate some of these hazmat releases if they were to occur based on a hazmat release that's caused by like a fire or other type of emergency. So DOE actually requires the laboratory through their contract to practice those scenarios at they call them emergency planning hazardous analysis facilities. So every single facility that has that level of hazmat material in their facility, they're required to do a drill and exercise to practice coordination to responding to something like that. What Lannel does for us is if there's a release from the contents of any of their hazardous material that's resulting as of an emergency, they issue us protective action recommendations here to the county. So what we do with the incident commander here in the Office of Emergency Management is we look at those protective action recommendations, and that's when we say, okay, it looks like this release could impact the county. We're going to go ahead and issue protective actions to certain segments of the populations that could be impacted depending on where a hazmat release is or a fire is released. So we would communicate that through our emergency alert system to get people out of there. And that sort of thing. So we are aware of it. We do practice with Lannel, and we coordinate with them on a regular basis to go over these type of scenarios. But I really appreciate the point being brought up as well. Does that answer your question, or kind of what you were curious about?
And it does. And I just want to add something. So in the Associated Press, after the Cerro Grande fire, it was a few years later, but the press was going along and looking at, how things have changed to be better prepared. And a Lanel official was quoted as saying that if there were a fire where, say, those tents are, they could put fire blankets over the drums, but they couldn't move them. And, so it just sounds like I hope that it's in better shape than that. And I wanted to make sure that y'all are aware of it because, people live so close to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hazard we take very seriously in the county, and I know with that coordination that we have with Landell is so helpful. They have a very robust hazardous material team over there that specializes in these type of incidents. And so whenever there's a hazmat release or an incident that's threatening a hazmat release, that team gets activated and they come up with hazmat plans and things like that that's specific to whatever type of material that's going to be involved. It's a very rigorous process that they have to do, between creating entry plans, creating hazmat plans, things like that. To keep their crew safe, and then also the surrounding agencies and jurisdictions safe as well. So I will say, being in some of those exercises and opportunities and drills, participating in some of those scenarios, it's a very robust process as far as mitigating, any type of hazmat or any emergency condition on the laboratory property. And then also we take it very seriously on the county when we do get those notifications that we need to send out a protective action recommendation.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you for your
answer.
answer.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah, thank you,
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Hey, one other thing with that, Lance, too, is that area is very well, I would say, mitigated. There's not a lot of fuel around the tents, so that's one of the things that they always look at Lannel too. Is those important areas that we have concerns about. A lot of those areas are very well mitigated, especially around that area, and they understand that too. So they continually work on that and reassess and assess again the trees and the potential for fire around that area. And I know we talk about ember showers, and that's always a danger, but we do, Lannel Mitigation Group does the best that they can do to mitigate around a lot of those areas to be very comfortable, I guess, if we have a fire that comes directly up to that area.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief. That's a great point. Yeah, just some of the mitigation work that happens around those hazardous material areas. There's been a lot that has been conducted. So thank you for bringing up that point. I do see Aria and John with your hand raised, so I'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself there and ask your question.
Thank you so much. Yes, mitigation is reducing a risk, but if Lannel would do one of two things, they could eliminate that risk with those 2,500 drums. They could either stop the practice of adding replacement drums to those that are shipped, which means they perpetually have 2,500 drums. Secondly, as promised years ago, they should have built a revetment or a masonry structure around those drums to eliminate the chance of ember contacts. I understand it's federal property and the county doesn't have jurisdiction over it, but New Mexico Environmental Department does to some extent over mixed waste. I don't think Lannel's a good neighbor. I appreciate you're trying to do the best you can with them, but please don't give them any credit for mitigating when they should be eliminating. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for the point there. We take that and everybody's perspectives into consideration, along with Lionel's perspective and considerations as well. Just from our experience here with some of the professionals that they have there and some of the engineered controls that's mandated to them from DOE and some that they put in place as well. We've seen them implement some of those engineered controls. I don't know the extent of it, so I appreciate you bringing the point up, John, and we'll definitely take your point into consideration. And thank you for speaking up this afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the line? And I'm going to check the chat here, make sure it looks like there's been some questions answered already in the chat through our Deputy Emergency Manager here, Cody. So thank you for that. Okay, it looks like all questions in the chat have been answered. So is there any other questions for folks that are on the line calling in? All right. Well, there's a few resources here that you can see on the screen. But if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. We've got our email address there at the very bottom, which is just lacoem@losalamos.nm.gov. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'll do our very best to answer the questions ourselves or get you in contact with the appropriate resource. But we appreciate everybody, being diligent this season. It has the potential to be a busy wildland fire season. So just, making sure we all do our part, doing that defensible space, being a good steward of the environment when we're out there, is so important, especially, when we have conditions like we have this year. So I'll leave it up to Chief Limer to close this out if he has any other closing remarks.
I do. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate your participation, and it's always good. We want to continue the community's input into what we do around the community. That's a big factor. We work for you guys, and we're here to protect the community that we live in. I don't live here personally, but this is where I've been for such a long time, and I've done so much work here. I feel like this is a huge part of what we do, and we're here for you. One other thing that I want to mention too is on April the 4th, on Saturday before Easter, from 10 to 2, we will have a wildfire day. There'll be multiple participants. Lano will be there. A lot of our partners that we work with around the area, along with, I believe, EM will be there. So if you have any questions or need any assistance with Everbridge, they'll be there for that. If you have any questions for the Lano mitigation crew, they'll be there and happy to show you some pictures and what they're doing out at Lano to do mitigation as far as forestry mitigation into some of those areas. Smokey the bear will be there. I believe Sparky the dog. We will have helmets to give away if you have any kids or grandkids that need helmets for their bicycles. Come early because those go pretty fast. And the Easter egg hunt is always a fun thing to do with the family, and we're always there to look at the kids, and we'll have stuff to give away, and we'll demo a lot of our equipment that we use at the fire department as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, looking forward to that event. It's always such a great event for the community. And we hope to see you all there. And if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude this local emergency planning committee meeting. We do have this presentation recorded, so we will be posting it to our website in emergency management once the recording is available and we get it through the process. So that will be available if you would like to share it with any of your resources or any of your contacts as well. We want to get the word out as much as possible with all this information. With that, we hope you all have a great afternoon, and thank you for joining us today.